I don't know how many of you have been watching these debates on television. But when we were in New Hampshire, and there were only 5 days between the Iowa caucus and the New Hampshire primary because of this crazy calendar this year, and everybody knows that whoever gets the Iowa caucus gets an 18-point bump in the polls for 2 days of constant media watch. Everybody was writing Hillary's epitaph because the campaign didn't start really until Saturday night at the debate. Then there were 2 more days, and no one had ever come that far. They were all dancing on her grave, saying, well, was she going to lose by 10 points or 15? And there came a moment in that debate, the moment that defines what this election is about. I often find that in elections, who wins and who loses depends on what people think the election is about. And the questioner from New Hampshire, there was one from the national media, one from New Hampshire, said, tell me one thing you've done for other people in your public life. And one candidate cited the Patient's Bill of Rights, which is a laudable thing that she supported, and I desperately tried to get through the Congress. And when I couldn't, I just gave it to the 85 million people by executive order covered by various government insurance plans. But the rest of America didn't have it. So anyway, one candidate said that he supported it, which he did, and it passed the House, but it didn't become law. Then the next candidate said he had been a co-sponsor of the ethics bill, which Hillary voted for and supported. And he said it was important because now members of Congress lobbyists couldn't take members of Congress to lunch anymore. And Hillary said, well, when I was First Lady, I led the fight for the Children's Health Insurance Bill, which provided health care to 6 million American kids, the biggest expansion. And there are more than 7,000 of those children in New Hampshire. And then she said, and as a senator, I co-sponsored legislation with a Republican senator to guarantee that when members of the National Guard and Reserves serve our country overseas, when they come home, they're entitled to exactly the same health benefits that members of the armed services are when they come home. And there are 2,700 families in New Hampshire affected by that, and the debate was over because people knew that if they wanted a president, they had a clear choice. The very next day, when I was making my rounds at these town meetings, a very proud father stood there with a little son, and he said, this boy is one of those 7,000 kids, and he's desperately ill, and because he's covered by the Children's Health Insurance Program, my son's going to have a normal life. I'm for Hillary for president. And last night in Nevada, I thought there was another defining moment when one candidate, they was asked about the nature of the presidency, and one candidate said, well, the president's not supposed to run a bureaucracy. You know, if you want a bureaucrat, you can vote for somebody else. The president's supposed to set a vision. And Hillary said, yes, but the president is called the chief executive officer of the country. The president is supposed to see to it that the vision makes positive changes in other people's lives, in a clean energy future, in health care for all, in bringing America back from the last 7 years. And the debate was over. And today, our principal opponent said he wanted to be a transforming leader like Ronald Reagan, not an ordinary leader like me. That we didn't make any fundamental changes in American life. Well, I didn't tell any welfare Cadillac stories. I didn't claim that trees cause pollution. But we had 50% more jobs created in our term than the Reagan years. We had 100 times as many people moved from poverty into the middle class as in the Reagan years. When we finished, 43 million more Americans were breathing clean air. 85 million had the protection of the Patient's Bill of Rights. 35 million families were protected by family and medical leave and used it. You know, there are a lot of people that don't think that stuff counts for much. That's not just words. I helped you. There were 7 million fewer people on welfare, either in school or in the workforce. We doubled child support collections. We doubled the rate at which children were moving from foster home into full-time adoptive homes. Now, you may think those are just little things, because that's what presidents do. They affect real lives or they don't.